I like to sometimes cover what is leaked and what is coming because often it even is correct. But I want to kind of let's just see what it is, and I'll try and at least give you some of my thoughts, whether it does come or not, how I think that would work, and where I would want to see it continue to go as well.
Another leak of DMZ information, and this time it's all about Season 3. For the last several weeks, I've been wondering what the devs are going to do in DMZ Season 3 when it comes to new features, because it's already been confirmed that we won't be getting a faction mission refresh this time, and that's where this leak comes in.
And what he's talking about that is complete reset of all of the missions. We saw this at the beginning of Season 2. When the game first came out, we made all the progress, got our 3 insured slots. That's like the big end game to all of this. And so they said that they're not resetting the slots, but they are resetting all the missions. So now I'm back to square one on all my missions. I've been working through them, but I already have all the stuff unlocked, so I don't really have a need to even continue to play it. So
we've got quite a bit to discuss today, as the future of DMZ is looking quite different and I think a lot brighter. So go and drop this video a like if you're excited for Season 3 and what it's going to bring.
Make sure you guys subscribe to Westies as well if you haven't.
Subscribe button and become part of the channel over here.
Great guy.
We're so close to 900,000 subscribers now, and of course there will be full coverage of Season 3 here on the channel when it drops in less than 3 weeks' time.
Beyond deserved for Westies.
Okay, first of all, let's tackle one of the bigger elements that could be coming to Season 3, a brand new Scavenger NPC. Voice lines for this character have been leaked and suggest that some element of trading is going to be happening in-game very soon, as opposed to in the menus, which is something we've spoken about before. Voice lines such as, "Let's see what you've got for me. That trash ain't worth my time. Now this is worth a trade," and "Nice find" lead into all of that. For a while now, lots of players have been asking for a trading or market system, some kind of economy to be added to DMZ.
This is like what we see in Escape from Tarkov, for example. They have an entire out-of-market marketplace. Even in the Cycles, another extraction shooter, it has a hub that you can go run around, trade with NPCs, buy stuff, sell stuff that you're finding or turning in missions for. This, you turn in missions, but you kind of get XP. Sometimes you get contraband. A lot of it's trash. It would be great if you could do something with the stuff that you have. I think it'd be great if you could even extract it and do something out of game with it. That's where even Tarkov has their own hideout system and things like that. It might be a bit limited if it's in game because a lot of it just disappears anyways and turns into XP. So that's where I'm really interested in the late game of this going, but
to give it more meaning,
see what else.
So that the cash and the items that are present in the world are worth extracting. But based on these leaked voice lines, it seems that instead of it being a menu-based system, it's actually going to take place in a round instead, which is a pretty interesting take. Somewhere on the map, there's likely going to be this scavenger character that you can walk up to, accept some kind of trade mission, you go off and find those items, you deliver them back to the character, and then you get something in return.
That would be cool if it was within the same game that you're playing and it gave you some type of a mission to get something. The problem is, though, like, even I was trying to get some come-ups on Ashika just today, and I was running against, like, a 1v5 with nothing. You know, it's like, am I really even going to be able to complete a mission in that time? I'm trying to just do a stronghold to get my come-up. If you're already up, you already got your satchel, self-res, and backpack, what would you even want to trade for? I don't, like, what would be the trade? I don't know. Maybe if you had like a contraband, you could trade up a gun or trade for something else. With especially there being this insured system where you already get your attachments and everything, then it kind of makes it hard to even want to trade anything. If you go in with your own gun that's custom built, unless you're like brand new to the game, you don't have all your attachments yet, which probably isn't the long, like, that's still not talking about the long game then.
Whether this is actually going to take the place of some kind of menu for trading outside of matches, that remains to be seen. But there is obviously the concern that right now in DMZ, we have buy stations already that you can use to purchase items. So what does this scavenger character
just buy
really do apart from
contraband
guns
from the buy station
already do? How does it fit into the equation? What's their purpose? Could we not just go up to a buy station instead and get what we want with cash? Well, there's more to this leak, and hopefully we can answer some of those questions now. Alongside the Scavenger NPC edition, it sounds as if the way you obtain items in DMZ from buy stations is going to completely change in Season 3. The devs are adding a faction, reputation, and trust system, giving you a brand new progression path to work on, as well as laying the groundwork for these other new features. We're also getting barter contracts, which will allow you to gain reputation with each faction. There will be faction-specific buy stations, which will contain specific items that depend on your reputation with that faction. And then there will be faction sites, physical locations on the maps in DMZ with faction-specific AI protecting them. These AI will be friendly or hostile based on your reputation and actions with the specific faction. Now, I know that's a lot to take in, but let's break it down a little bit. We'll start off with the faction reputation and trust system. This new system is going to massively increase the progression possibilities in DMZ. Right now, there's not much to work towards or take rewards from outside of the faction missions and you earning your insured weapon slots. Those are features that we've had since day one of DMZ, and many players are now looking for more to do in the mode.
The only thing they've massively added towards that progression is extra perks. They added perk streaks to the game. But even with that, that's only as good as long as you stay alive. As soon as you die, you lose your entire streak. It's not really something you're progressing towards in your overall character and what you're building out. You could argue your attachments and your weapons and those types of things. And for a lot of people who just play free-to-play, that is the way to do it. Maybe they can even help fast-track more of the attachment unlocks. I think that would be good. But again, that's still not answering the long game.
And in the absence of that, during Season 2 and Season 2 Reloaded, we didn't really get any meaningful updates there. PvP in DMZ has taken a massive uptick. Players just seemingly playing the mode only to go after other players, which
I've even been doing this, you know, with my own DMZ missions. You guys have been giving me custom missions to do, and most of those involve just hunting and killing everybody. At the beginning of the update, nobody really cares because nobody's even on PvP missions, but the later ones, you actually do have to go kill other players. That's the entire incentive, entire purpose. There's even one I have for a Lockman build, 75 meters for these kills. Some of these are terrible missions that are just annoying because the player you're going to knock, they're going to go behind a wall. You can't even finish them off. Some of them are very, very annoying.
Let's be honest, is hardly their fault. There's not that much more to do. This reputation system for the factions, so probably White Lotus, Legion, and Black Mouse, is likely going to change the dynamic of how you play DMZ, as it sounds like gaining reputation and trust from one faction is going to negatively affect, or at least increase the gap between
That's partially how it works in Tarkov as well,
with another faction. So it's something to think about as you're playing. The way you're going to be gaining reputation with the factions is through barter contracts. These appear to be separate from the Scavenger NPC that we spoke about earlier, and they tie into the new faction-specific buy stations. The better your reputation, say with the White Lotus faction, the more valuable the items you're going to be able to buy from their buy stations. Now, this is a big departure from how buy stations currently work in DMZ, and it appears to be an attempt from the developers to have greater meaning to the factions and to sort of elevate the narrative in DMZ and how those factions are like working with or against each other and establish a more complex economy in the game. Right now, you simply obtain cash or valuable items.
I do like the idea.
You go to a buy station, and you just buy what you need. It's really simple. With this new reputation system feeding into faction-specific buy stations, the developers are creating a more complex gameplay loop, where yes, you might have plenty of cash on your character, but if you don't have good reputation with, say, the Legion faction, you can't just go and use their buy stations to get items you might want or need.
The thing for me is, like, if these buy stations are just the exact same buy stations and they just have an icon over it and now you can't use it, that would be far more frustrating and worse. They're just taking things away rather than adding things to make it more interesting and complex. That would just be frustrating if, you know, oh, well, I don't have Legion high enough ranked up. I only have White Lotus or whatever, and there's just no White Lotus buy stations anywhere, and now I can't buy plates anywhere, and now I just get rolled over by a team who's already still 5-stack going into it, and then because the only thing that's really incentivized to get out of this, at least from me going to the buy stations 90% of the time, is armor, is getting plates, because it's so rare in the game. You can't spawn with it. You can't just get armor box unless you're lucky from the last game that you went into. So, I mean, you can get like an armored LTV, you can get airstrikes and other things too. If they just limit it to those things, at least, that would be nice. Still make it so you can at least buy plates wherever you're at. But there's really not that many things that you even want to buy in the game. I mean, yeah, what would be cool is like if they had it maybe instead of it being 35K for a 3 armor plate, maybe if you're high rep at Legion and you go to the buy station, maybe it's only $3 grand. And then you can get a super cheap 3 plate by buying it. That would be kind of an upgrade or like a benefit to it at that point versus what I'm worried about here. And obviously we have no idea, but if they put everything behind a wall, there's still the same amount of buy stations. Now, maybe they double the amount of buy stations, but the extra buy stations they add are specific faction ones. That could be interesting as well.
You need the good rep to get those items. You're going to have to traverse the progression path, build up your reputation, and get on their good side.
I'm going to be a Hufflepuff. That's a good choice.
The faction sites, which sound like safe havens for players with good reputation with a specific faction. These sites have AI at them that will either act friendly towards you when you approach if you have good rep with the faction, or they will act with hostility if you attack them and you don't have good rep with them. And to me, it also sounds like these faction sites will be where the faction buy stations are located. It kind of makes sense, right? You need good rep to go up to the faction site, then there's the buy station in there for you to get what you want. Now, one type of player that I can see really benefiting from all of this new stuff is the solo player. Right now, across Al Mazrah, Ashika Island, and Building 21, playing solo can be pretty rough. There's very little protection afforded to people who choose to run without teammates. But with this new leak of information, I can see solo players benefiting massively. Working to increase your reputation with the different factions is going to allow you access to their faction sites, which come with the AI that defends you rather than attacks you. We haven't seen this in DMZ yet. The AI has always been a hostile force, whether that's the Al-Qatala operatives on Al Mazrah or the Shadow Company mercenaries in Building 21 on Ashika Island and around the crash site on Al Mazrah.
But wouldn't theoretically a team that's also playing, probably even leveling up faster, also have the same protections from whatever these factions are? Unless they choose to go different faction, maybe. But then what if they're split? Like one teammate is this faction, one teammate's another faction. Maybe they still fight each other. Well, I don't know. And especially with the way that the AI even is in the game, it's not the smartest. To where what if you accidentally shoot one and then they turn on you? Or what if you're in a firefight? Like, is it going to be a non-combat zone where everybody doesn't fight at these areas? Or are you there trying to barter with somebody and somebody else is also White Lotus, the same one? They walk up with a 3-stack, smoke your ass, and then you're out. I don't know. I do see the point of what he's saying. Like, if you're solo, you don't have a way to get gear, you do have a good reputation with a faction, you can use that as a come-up, and that would be helpful. But, I mean, the same benefits are still going to be awarded to other players on the team that could also be progressed even further.
Working to build up your rep with White Lotus, Legion, and Black Mouse, these other factions that are working in and around the world of DMZ, that could give solo players a real chance to build a brand new playstyle, incorporating AI that will defend you rather than simply attacking you as an enemy team closes in with you running a hunt contract. Then there's, of course, the Scavenger NPC boss guy, with them being an in-game character that is said to be someone that you can trade items with and rewards you with items in return and faction reputation. That adds another progression layer for not just solo players, but all players jumping into a match. If you're someone who's close to finishing their faction missions, you are obviously looking for more to do in DMZ. Well, it sounds like in the near future, you'll be able to take on unique objectives each match from this Scavenger NPC that will further your rep with different factions. And that's going to lessen the emphasis on PvP, which, as I mentioned earlier, has had a massive increase in popularity recently.
Yeah.
PvP is always going to be part of this mode. There are other hostile players on the same map as you, but of course there's missions to do and things to complete, and right now I feel the balance between PvE and PvP is heavily skewed towards going after other players.
I've even run into people just in the recent days when they go in, they literally are just there. They're not even doing any missions. They're just there to kill everybody in the game, and it would be nice if at least, you know, I do think PvP is great. I actually think it makes it, if this didn't have PvP in it, this would be so boring, dude. But it adds that whole extra layer of fear, of adrenaline with it. That's like, oh, damn, anybody could come at you. Maybe this is an actual player around the corner. But I think a lot of people are going purely for the hunt, even like myself, versus going for trying to do your objective, trying to progress your character while you're also, or even just trying to get loot to bring out. None of that matters. So it's not like you're even going in trying to find this legendary rare piece of gear or get a bunch of cash. If you get a bunch of cash, it doesn't matter at all. Even if you kill somebody, you could take that. You can get 1 million cash and then exfil, and it still does not matter. None of the long game matters, which is why it turns into, you know, maybe people who dominate in Battle Royale, bored, they decide hop into DMZ, go ahead and kill everybody in the game, leave all their gear, everything on the floor, and head out. There's not really that great long-term incentive structure that maybe this does build. It is true. If it's another like progression arc that you're doing for the actual character, or the factions themselves outside of the missions that you're doing. If like you can get a mission in game, go complete that, and it builds up a reputation with them. Maybe that's more to do on it that then could be worth it. Although, what is that? What's the payoff then for it? Right? Is it another perk streak? I still think that's something that could easily further benefit. Is building up that perk streak faster.
Yes. And then, on top of that, there's the possibility that the reputation you earned with one faction will hurt your reputation with another,
right,
leading to this back and forth mechanic.
That is kind of cool.
Perhaps there's a faction buy station that will only sell items that you need to complete a specific mission, but you have to be a certain reputation level to go and buy them.
Yeah, if you could just choose one,
that's
that would be cool.
That's going to create a lot of choices for you as a player, and it could lead to a lot more depth and meaning being added to DMZ moving forward. If you ask me, this is exactly the kind of feature injection that DMZ needs and has needed for some time. Unfortunately, the addition of the new Ashika Island map hasn't really moved the game mode forwards all that much. Without additional features surrounding that new map that help you progress in the game mode and reward you for your time playing, a map alone really isn't going to do that much, and as we've seen during Season 2, it hasn't really done much to benefit DMZ. If even half of this new leaked information turns out to be true, I can see Season 3 of DMZ being a massive step forward for players who want that added depth.
There's a lot of dog tags,
Westies. As an
Westy.
extraction shooter,
Talking about PvP, this dude's killing everybody.
Space, DMZ adding more features as it goes with a live player base, that puts it in a really positive position. It's already got people playing it in the position it's in. If you add more features that keep people playing and keep people engaged and push forward their progression and give them more rewards, that's just going to incentivize them to keep playing and keep the game mode healthy.
I got to do more Team DMZ.
As I say, if even half of this becomes
Look at these
true,
guys cleaning
that's
house.
going to be great for the future of DMZ. If you are looking for something else DMZ related to watch, however...
Great video, great coverage. Guys, go follow Westy. I'll link the video here as well for you. Go subscribe to him. Help him get to 1 million. He is a great dude. I've been, obviously, I've known him for a very long time now. Makes a lot of great content, especially on DMZ. We played it, obviously, in the DMZ tourneys and everything with him, too. Great guy. Good video, man. I'm interested to see where it goes for Season 3. I'll definitely be reading through all the patch notes and everything on it.